Manchester United out of the FA Cup in the fourth round. Here at Old Trafford against Middlesbrough on penalties. Where do I start? I think the biggest frustration with this game, amongst the anger and being furious with it, the biggest frustration is that the chances were there to put the game to bed. And we can talk about defensive errors and lacks of concentration and mentality and the lack of control over the game as the game wore on. But actually, for large parts, we were in control. And this is what happens when you do not take your chances. Ronaldo, poor. Bruno, poor. In terms of, I'm talking about being clinical. Sancho obviously gets us off to a good start. And we had the basis for a good performance. But if you don't take your chances against whoever, this is what happens. Against, let's face it, a Borough side that's resurgent under Chris Wilder, but they're not tearing up trees. That was Manchester United's best 11. Bar De Gea, some may say Tellez over Shaw, whatever you want to call it. That's pretty much our best team against 7th in the table championship team. And I said it was going to be their cup final. They're going to make it difficult for us. But actually, the chances that we had, we should have been out of sight. We should have been way out of sight. And then if you're not going to score your chances, keep the opposition at bay. Don't have any lapses of concentration. Yes, it probably should have been a handball. I don't know why it wasn't, but they probably deserved that little bit of luck on the balance of it, because actually, to put ourselves in that position by not taking our chances, you're asking for trouble. Absolutely appalling. And then it comes down to mentality, doesn't it? When you get to 1-1, when you get pegged back to 1-1, what's the mentality saying? And actually, we went on to then create more chances. Rashford, poor. It's like he just can't get going. I don't know what's going on with Rashi. It looked like a little bit of a resurgence putting him on the bench for Anthony Elanga. Comes on against Brentford, scores, gets the winner against West Ham. You think, right, cool, he's there. Gets the start today. Poor, really, really poor. Sancho puts it on a plate for him. He puts it over the bar. He has a shot in the second half where he should go across goal. Goes near post, keeper saves it. Again, I spoke about Ronaldo as well. Listen, he's our talisman. He's clutch. He's a big moments player. Didn't produce the big moment today. Didn't produce the key moments where he should have scored. Bruno, the worst of the lot. Plays a great ball through to Sancho, which is what we score from. So, yes, that was good. He presses and wins the ball. Just score, but he's an open goal. It's an open goal. It's unexplainable. Absolutely unexplainable. And then we went from bad to worse. And that's where I think Middlesbrough made it difficult for us and actually deserved their bit of luck, because they just stayed in. They stayed camped in. Back five. 2 up front trying to press. And they just worked tirelessly. I spoke to Middlesbrough fans earlier on. I thought that was a really interesting view to get, because they said their team just worked really, really hard and they were proud of them. And we allowed that. We let them gain confidence through slow, lethargic, and then the players got scared. And ultimately, we're in the mud. You know, some people were saying in the fan views, just end the season now, another trophyless season, because there's no way in hell we're going to win the Champions League. Just look at that. We can't even beat a championship side at home in the fourth round of the FA Cup. We're not going to win the Champions League. Nowhere near it. In fact, I'm dreading going out to Spain, because actually, if that's how we perform, you know, well, I don't know, then to be fair, on a different day, we probably score more. But it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse for Man United with what's gone on in the past week or so at the football club, you then get a result like that. And again, to add to that frustration, like I said, the chances were there. Paul Pogba, first game in a long time. I thought he was good in the first half. You know, I thought we controlled the game. Dean Henderson didn't have anything to do. We controlled the game. The only thing missing was the goals. And you come out in the second half, and again, you're lethargic, and you don't put the ball in the back of the net. You miss easy chances, and then you were calamitous. You know, Harry Maguire's playing the guy on side, worrying about a handball. Then he goes from bad to worse as the game goes on, passing slow, not taking responsibility. Varane, I thought, was fantastic all game. But it just leaves a bitter feeling in the mouth. I don't know what to say. There's the shouting and ranting and raving on here. It's like I'm just empty. It's like I'm empty. I think Saeed said it. It's like you can't even get up for coming to watch Man United anymore, because you just don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. We're scraping by against West Ham. We scraped by draw against Villa from 2-0 up. Burnley game was, okay in the first half, shit in the second half. Lost against Wolves. We're like this. Brentford first half was shocking. Could have been 2 or 3 down. Managed to claw it back. It's just, you just don't know what you're going to get. And a lot of people have mentioned they feel a little bit sorry for Ralph Rangnick. Well, actually, I kind of see the frustration and I kind of get that statement, because there's only so much you can do. The players, you've got to put the ball in the back of the net. You've got to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's we got punished. And then what I will say is the response, though, the response from getting pegged back, and this is the difference between us and the very, very top teams, the teams that we're trying to emulate at the moment, which pains me to say it, but Liverpool, City, Chelsea, etc. Those teams, if they get pegged back against a championship team at home, they find another gear, and they certainly don't miss those chances. And then when it gets to extra time, that team who they're playing against will be backs against the wall. The first half of the first half of extra time was absolutely awful. It was the worst in the whole game. You had Jones and Maguire just passing it sideways and slow. Phil Jones went on a couple marauding runs because nothing was going on. Dalot was getting scared. He was going into a shell because he was giving away the ball. Wasn't good. Luke Shaw today wasn't good enough. It just went from bad to worse, and we just started to lose control of the game. Pogba, look, he's been out for a long time, so you're not going to get onto him because I thought he did play well, but then he started to peter off. Maybe he could have come off earlier. It just went from bad to worse, and like I said, we were carrying players. And when you're doing that against a team like Middlesbrough, we just ended up giving them the belief, and then they gave themselves that thing to hang on to in terms of scoring the goal. And after that, it's not like we reigned supreme on their goal. And then when we did get chances, clear-cut chances, Alanga, fair play, 2 headers. He did okay. On a different day, he probably would do better, but it's probably a bit harsh to say he should have scored. But Rashford should have scored. Bruno, I don't know how he's missed. So the chances were there. And that's the most frustrating thing about today. It's not even like you leave there saying, we didn't create anything. You know, where's the chances? The forward line were starved. The forward line need to hang their head in shame, barring Jadon Sancho, who laid it on for Rashford, who should have scored. He scored a goal himself. The rest of them, shocking in that area of the pitch. And that is why we lost the game today. You know, Anthony Elanga's, going to be the scapegoat, and he shouldn't be. I haven't seen social media yet, but I just hope that there hasn't been the usual racist stuff towards him. Hopefully that hasn't happened. And it's a shame that it had to fall on a young player's shoulders in that situation. He was quite far down the list, so they did try to keep him out of it. But still, Luke Shaw should be ahead of him. Maybe not Phil Jones. If you look at the last time Phil Jones was in a penalty shootout, it was against Derby in the same end, and we lost. So I can see maybe why he didn't take it. But you don't want to see Elanga in that situation. But penalties are penalties, and to be fair to Borough, all their penalties were flawless, apart from maybe one that Dean Henderson should have saved. So it's a lottery. I didn't feel confident as soon as it went to penalties. But in the second half of extra time, shocking, no urgency. How many times we had to shout attack? We had to shout get the ball forward, lump it in the box. But we were just passive, we were slow, and we were nervous. And we're out of the FA Cup as a consequence. Absolutely embarrassing, to be honest with you. Roll on Burnley on Tuesday night. We've had to play 120 minutes now. That's not great. Yes, they've had a long time out by having the winter break, apart from the South American players. But what were these players doing? I saw a lot of them strutting about in Dubai, warm weather training, looking neat, looking tidy. When it comes down to it, under the lights at Old Trafford, nowhere to be seen. Couldn't get the shooting boots on. Ronaldo's walking in the fucking ice bath or the steam room or whatever it is. Couldn't get the shooting boots on. It happens. So embarrassing. Fair play to Middlesbrough. You've got to give credit to them. They deserved their little bit of luck that they had in terms of their goal, but they worked. They made it difficult for us, and then they got the luck they deserved. Where do we go from here? Sai said it earlier, just end the season now. It does feel a little bit like that. The season is just petering out. Nothing to play for anymore apart from top 4, and that is, a lottery in itself. I'm out of here. See you guys at the next game, Tuesday. Burnley. Peace.